Hello and welcome everyone to this Free Friday webinar series. We are recording this as usual, and you can find the recordings on our website by following our YouTube channel. The webinar is automatically captioned, and you can use the closed caption function or the CC button in Zoom to get the captions. Your microphone is muted to avoid any background noise, and we have a very specific setup for the Friday webinars. So it's only 30 minutes. There will be a short presentation, and then you can ask questions. And please do use the Q&A function for the questions to pose any questions to the speakers. And the chat is monitored for any technical issues, and we will also share links in the chat. And I would like to say that this is a webinar that we have been waiting for for longer than usual, because it was supposed to happen in February, but due to illness, we couldn't do it. And now we are extra happy to have Malin with us. She hasn't been away for a month, but still to do this webinar for us today. So Malin, if you are still there, yes, now I see you as well. Please take it away. InDesign and
Hi.
styles.
Yeah, happy to be here. So today we'll talk about InDesign styles, a very nerdy and very specific topic, but actually kind of a superpower when we work with InDesign to make the files accessible. So for you who don't know me, I'm Malin Hammerberg. I'm a senior UX designer and accessibility specialist at Funka Foundation. I work a lot with trainings and happen to get a lot of InDesign files which we fix accessibility in, or we do our own. And I'm certified via IAAP as a certified professional within web accessibility. So, readability is very closely connected to formatting. So, if we use um, standard type fonts or fonts that the reader recognize, the readability becomes easier. If we divide our content up with headings, we increase the readability for the user.
There seems to
Also
be a
thinking
problem,
about, uh,
Malin, there seems to be a problem with the sound. I don't know. We have three people in the chat saying that they can't hear, but others saying that they do hear. So I'm not sure, but because it was three people. um,
is it sounded Berkey or something? I don't even know that.
no, so the majority say they do hear. So
Okay.
okay, sorry for interrupting. It was just the three people said that they didn't hear. So sorry, Molly. Keep
Um,
going.
okay. So if we can, a good measure is to add lists to our text, bullets or numbered. It helps user focus on that type of content and easily kind of understand it. Also, affecting readability is paragraph and line spacing. So, understanding where one paragraph ends and the next begins. Having enough space between the lines so the text doesn't feel cramped and it's hard to kind of easy to reread a line. And that also helps a lot. Left align text, increase readability and font size and line length. And these are very kind of closely connected in documents because we have a set piece of space we can write in. So when we increase the font size, our recommendation is always minimum 12 points. The line length kind of automatically shorten. And there are so many studies showing that line length affect readability. All of these are handled in styles in design. And there are several different type of styles in InDesign. We have paragraph styles, which handle a lot of the things I talked about just now. The recommendation is to try to use paragraph styles when you think about what type of paragraph it is. Like, is it a heading? Is it a bread text? And so on. And then use character styles to kind of do the variation, the style variation within if we want to have a red heading somewhere, we do a character style called red, or we do a character style called bold, and we use that one. Then you can have styles for objects, cells, and tables as well. But today we'll focus on the paragraph and character styles. So the recommendation is keep paragraph styles to a minimum. This makes it easier to maintain your document and structure it clearly. I've been into InDesign documents with 50 different paragraph styles, and it's really easy that it kind of sneaks in an error here or there. So keep paragraph styles to minimum and kind of add character styles where you need to create that good structure and have everything in styles so you don't do the editing from the side panel. So what's the difference? When should I use this? Sorry, I forgot to add one bullet at a time here. So when should you use paragraph style versus character styles? So if we focus on the left side, so paragraph styles, when we want to apply a style to an entire paragraph, so it's for headings, as I said, H1, H2, H3, and so on. For body text, when we do want a specific style for our lists, for captions, for table of content entities, so kind of what style we want on the different parts of the table of content. Then when should we use character styles? Well, that's when we apply to words or phrases within a paragraph. So it's for if we have a quote in another language, so we have a language change, then we add a character style. Maybe called the Swedish, if I'm writing an English document and I have a small section in Swedish. If we want to emphasize something using bold or italic. If we have color changes on the text. If we have font changes for some reason, or for links, we should use character styles. So how to set up styles? When you have no document open, if you set up styles with no document open, they become your default style. So then you have those kind of in the background and they will always be there when you open a new document. If you have a document open, they will only be for that document alone. There are 3 things we think you should be very mindful about and think about when you set up styles. So you should always look at the hyphenation of the style and adjust those because they're usually automatically hyphenated, and I will explain this closely soon. You should look at the export tags and you should look at the language settings. So let's start with how you set up a paragraph style. In InDesign, you go to the type menu, and under type, you can find alternative paragraph styles. If you click that paragraph styles, a panel will open. And in this panel, you can either add a new style by clicking on the plus sign in the footer menu, or you can right click and then the paragraph style will be added, or you can right click on a paragraph style and duplicate it. When you want to edit the style you just created, you right click on it and you select alternative edit. Then the paragraph style option window will open. So in this, there are some things that are important. One is, of course, naming your style with a good name. The second thing we were talking about was hyphenation. So hyphenated text, that's when we divide words that doesn't fit in a line and we add a hyphenation and the rest of the word comes to the next line. This decreases the readability for a lot of users and make it really hard to read sometimes and understand that the words are connected and what the word and the meaning of that word. And when that happens automatically, we can also see that it has this good place where it hyphenates. So avoid hyphenating the text automatically. So to do this, what you need to do in the paragraph style options window is that you go to hyphenation, and on the hyphenation, you select you make sure that the hyphenate checkbox is unmarked. So take control of this and make sure you hyphenate with full conscience when you need to do it, and avoid as much as you can to do it in other places. The other very important thing you should do when you use styles is export tagging. So the export tagging are the things that tell InDesign when we convert it to PDF what that style actually is. So for headings, we should have the export tagging H1 to H6. For paragraph or body text, we have the P. And if we have content that assistive technology should ignore, such as page numbers or repetitive content, we can artifact the content, and then it will be hidden from assistive technology. But we need to do this with care so we don't hide text, so texts are hidden that should be read. And then we have the automatic tag. That's used for everything else. So for table cells or captions or link text or what else there is out there, always use the automatic text tag. To set the export tagging, once again in the paragraph style options window, select the export tagging. It's the very bottom alternative. And on the lower half of this, you have the PDF settings, or the very bottom of this menu. There you can see the tag. The tag is always set out of the box to automatic. So this means that when you convert it to PDF, it will try to guess whatever your thing is. Most of the time, the outcome, if you have automatic tab, wasn't what you expected it to be. So take control, make sure if you have a heading one or a main heading, you know what heading level you want on that. If you take control, the outcome will become better when you convert it to a PDF. So if you click here, you can see that it opens, and you can select whatever heading level or, heading level or p tag, or if it's an artifacted text. In this case, the style name is heading 3, so the heading level should probably be heading level 3. You can also check all your export tags if you're unsure what you have set up. To do this, you go to the small little line menu in the top right corner of your paragraph styles. And when you open this More menu, you will get a lot of alternatives, but what you want to click on is the Edit All Export Tags. Edit All Export Tags will open up a list where you can see the style name, and you can see what tag it has. So you can easily see if you have something you should fix. You can fix them, the tags directly in this list, so it's easy kind of getting the overview and see that everything looks as it should. Make sure that you have the PDF marked in the top, so you don't show the EPUB and HTML, because that doesn't help when you convert to PDF. You need to check the PDF tags. Another thing we always should do with our styles is set the language. The language can be set on several different levels in InDesign, and one level is on the paragraph styles. So always set the language. The language is set in paragraph style options, once again, under advanced character formats. And when you go to that one, you can see the language. So make sure that the language represents your document language. Our best tips is control everything with a style, no formatting from the toolbar. When we format from toolbar, it's easy that errors kind of sneak in. So you might think that you set the English the language to English UK, but you accidentally in the toolbar switch it to Swedish somewhere, and then you copy that text, and the Swedish is all over the document, which wasn't intended. So how can you check the style overrides? Um, Once again, if you have the paragraph style window open, you can click on the icon, which is kind of an A plus in square brackets. It's called Style Override Highlighter, and when you click on this one, the text that is that you have overridden or changed something on is highlighted, and you can go in and check that text and see if you should create maybe a character style or if you should update your paragraph style. So you can also, when you mark the text, see if it's overridden, because then it will get a plus sign after itself in the list. So in this example, maybe I can zoom in. No, I couldn't. We have the paragraph with a plus sign after, showing that something has been updated on that one. To fix this override, you can, you can see the plus sign there. You can easily click on this icon in the bottom, which is a paragraph mark with two arrows, or maybe it's a line with a cross above it. This will clear that override to make sure you are listening to the styles again. So that's my main tips for using styles in InDesign. Use them, make sure you handle them with care and love. And any questions?
Microphone there is thank you, Malin. We have quite a few questions. So the first one is about if there's a link to the webinar on your website, and there will be a link when it's recorded. We can't link to it before when it's still happening. So yes, the webinar is recorded. All our Friday webinars are recorded, and everyone that is registered will get a link in an email afterwards. So question about headings. I see what do you call it? Angle paragraph H tag. Sometimes this is not a web standard, but is it okay for documents?
Angled. I'm a bit confused of the question. Can I read it somehow?
Yeah.
Okay,
the questions and answers.
I see H tags on there. I think this question, I have Peter with me for that matter. So this is about the brackets with just an H and not a hierarchy level heading. Peter is our document expert. So what happens in the PDF when we have that?
Hello there. Please don't use that. So use the H and number heading tags. It's an existing tag, it's true, but assistive technology cannot put that in the heading hierarchy. So if you see an H tag without a number, please replace it with one.
And I know you can select that in InDesign. Don't use the heading level that you exactly think your headings are in.
Very clear, Peter. You're a bit far away from the microphone, but I think it was possible to hear, I hope. So the next question is about automatic numbering in headings. What about automatic numberings? InDesign is kind of conflicted and sometimes convert headings to lists when exported, especially to EPUB.
Yeah. I don't work that much with EPUBs. I'm sorry, I can't really answer from that perspective. If you name your style like H3 and you haven't set and you have the automatic export tag to automatic, then when you export it to PDF, it will try to export it to an H3, but that's only if you named it exactly H3. If you name it H3 dash my main heading or whatever you think is a good name afterwards, then that's what happens. So I would always recommend to take control and decide what export tag you need. I can't really explain what happens in EPUB. I'm sorry about that.
Okay, thank you, Malin. The next question is, what is best practice for headers? We're coming back to headers here. For example, when a designer puts a banner with text and a logo on every single page, it gets very repetitive.
Okay,
How
yeah, so
do we
the
handle
page
that?
header on the top, yeah. The headers and footers that are repetitive content, there are two solutions. Either you can set the export tag to artifact on them and they won't be announced for screen readers or text-to-speech tools. The other solution is to add those repetitive content in the page design. And when you have them in the page design, then will also not be announced to text-to-speech tools. But you can also, when you have them in the page, then kind of lift them out on one page, so they are announced on one page for screen reader users, which can find it helpful when they are at least on one page.
Thank you. Next question is, I thought that you don't have to add the export tag P for quote unquote normal paragraphs because everything which is automatic will be tagged as P. Wrong question mark.
It kind of will, but we think it's good that you take control of it because it's easier for also when someone comes in and need to fix the errors in the PDF files if we are very organized and structured in our InDesign styles and files. That helps, right, Peter?
Yes, so it might be true that in general it would be exported as a p tag, but InDesign and PDF, the transformation is intuitive, so it can tag it differently. So it's always better to set the p tag in export tagging in InDesign.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. And then we have a question about an accessibility checker. Does InDesign have or include an accessibility checker?
No. You can check the language and you can check a lot of things, but not the accessibility.
Okay, that was an easy one. So the next question is, why is it better to define different languages in character styles? I have made different paragraph styles.
The thing that we've seen when there's loads and loads of paragraph styles and you copy things between them, sometimes it gets mixed up. So we see rather the kind of the human errors coming through when we do try to fix PDF files or InDesign files. So our recommendation when we see it works the best is to do that language change in the character style. That said, if you have an entire paragraph and you know this paragraph will always be in English or whatever it is, then you could use that technique. If you have single words or a sentence inside the paragraph, you can't use that technique. Then you need to use character styles because you can't change the paragraph style for a part of a larger paragraph. Then it won't be exported as well to the PDF.
Perfect. And the next one I will try to translate. So how do you do in the best way possible to get the right reading order already in InDesign in order to not having to fix it afterwards in Acrobat?
So depending on your document and how complex it is, this is a topic for itself, I feel. So there are both reading order and tag order, and they need to be the same. And so if you have a simple document, then and you don't do anything, then when you convert it, it will try to do the reading order from kind of the layer order when you convert it to PDF. But if you have a complex document, then you need to add the reading order in the articles menu. And yeah, this will be a very long answer. To say it simple, you can do it, and there are some great tips, and we are putting together an InDesign training, and that will be part of that training, but it will take too long to explain it here. I would say, I'm sorry.
Maybe we can find some links or supporting material or send something
Yeah.
out in the thank you email so we don't just leave it hanging. Okay, next question. If we set up everything correctly in InDesign, is it possible to export a PDF that passes the pack check with 0 WCAG errors?
No, you always need it. Once again, depends on the complexity of the document, but if it's a quite straightforward document, the we usually always need to fix one thing, and that's the language on the document tag in the PDF file, because that, for some stupid reason, even if we set the language correct everywhere in the design file, it's always exported to English for some reason we can't really figure out, me and Peter. Is there anything else we always need to fix? But I know that is one of them.
That's so. But if you have the document written in US English, then you don't need to fix
No,
that.
okay,
But yes,
perfect.
but if it's simple, then that might be the only error.
Yeah. So if you do it right, you have one, and even I can do that fix. I've learned how to do that, so I know it's not that hard.
Okay, thank you. And if we can have a quick response to this, we can maybe take one more. Do you export tag image alt? Do you export tag image alt text this way too, or is it only for text paragraphs?
This is for text paragraphs. When you want to set the export tag for image, you go to Object Export Options, and there you can select if you want it to be an artifact image, if it's decorative.
Perfect, thank you. There are still questions left, but we have reached almost the top of the hour and we have to wrap up. So if we could go to the next slide, please.
Yeah.
Yep.
We created a small smart grid with the tips from this training, so you will remember them. So use styles, set export tags, set language in styles, limit hyphenations, and clean up style structure.
And our colleague will put the link to the smart guide in the chat so that you can download it, and we will also share it afterwards.
Yeah, and then it will be available in both English and Swedish. So if you use your Swedish version of InDesign, you can still understand it.
That is very good, thank you. And please do subscribe to our newsletter to keep updated on the recent research. We have just got awarded a couple of super interesting research projects that we will talk about in the next edition of the newsletter, and do also follow us on LinkedIn. We are sharing slides, no, we're not sharing the slides, we're sharing links in the chat. And there are also QR codes for both the LinkedIn and the newsletter. And then I think drums, we have something for next. No?
Yeah, can I say one more thing? Me and Peter are putting together document trainings right now for our e-learning platform. And when we release them, both hopefully in Swedish and English, the updated information will also be announced in our newsletter. So follow that if you're interested in our trainings.
And now we go into the Easter holidays, and because we have Easter holidays both before and after the Easter in different countries and different regions, we are waiting. You have to wait for 3 weeks until the next session, but that is very, very important to listen to, because that is when Peter is talking about accessibility in public procurement. So on the 17th of April, the next Free Friday webinar is about the connection between the European Accessibility Act and public procurement, and the new report that we are behind, that is now published in the standardization ecosystem of the EU. So signed, sealed, and accessible, accessibility in public procurement, 17th of April. Welcome back. And now, before you close the computer for the weekend, do remember to make something accessible before you leave. Thank you for visiting us today. Thank you, Malin, and also Peter for being with us, and Stefan for all the links and everything. Have a very good weekend, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.